Okay, so now we're going to show a bilobe flap. This is someone's nose, and these are the eyes here. It looks like he's got hypertelorism. Anyway, this is the defect, so we'll just cut around this defect and then design a bilobe flap to try and cover it. Okay, now the bilobe flap is two transposition flaps basically that fit into each other, and it's an excellent flap on the nose and sometimes on the cheek, when the area of tissue laxity is quite far away from the defect. So on this person, the area of tissue laxity is probably the dorsum of the nose, but just to make the scar sort of fit away from the center of the nose, which is from the center of the face, which is here, we're going to take it adjacent. We're going to move it over to the side, just to the medial canthus. So we've got to imagine that this flap, we're going to move a bit of skin from here, and this diameter we can make smaller on this flap by about 2/3, and the arc of movement is sort of, you can make it as big or as wide as you like, but and then we're going to have another flap here. Okay, and the dog ear we can fit in the alar groove, luckily, because imagine the nose has the sidewall there. Okay, so this flap is going to move into there, and this flap is going to move into there, and this is going to close side to side, really. Okay, we don't want to undersize the flap, because as you rotate any flap, it will shorten. Okay, so essentially we're going to remove this dog ear and cut the flap. And you must, when you're doing these sorts of things when you're practicing, you must try and experiment with different methods of doing a bilobe flap and where you take your dog ear, because, for example, if this was very close to the alar rim, we could take our dog ear at a more acute angle. The risk of that is that you give yourself a narrower pedicle. Now here you can see I've taken the dog ear up, but you could take your dog ear even higher here in order to avoid displacement of the alar here. So you must try and experiment with different types of dog ears even higher, but you can see that the pedicle becomes narrower and narrower the more acute a dog ear you take. So this is a standard sort of 60-degree dog ear, and we've come out about this distance from here to the dog ear is about 1.5 times the diameter of the defect. Okay, so we will take this dog ear out prior to flap movement, although some people advocate that you could just take it out afterwards. I find it easier to take out straight away, simply because it allows you to see the bleeding points on the nose and allows you to cauterize without putting too much tension on the flap. And here's the dog ear taken away. This is simply going to fit into there like that, and this is going to fit into there like that, and with undermining, you see it's going to close side to side here. That's going to fit in there nicely, and that's going to fit in there nicely. So can you see that flat movement? And remember, this is slightly smaller than the defect, and this is slightly smaller than the secondary defect, and this is closed side to side really very easily. Okay, so you must experiment with this sort of thing, and you can take larger dog ears, you can make them go wider, but you will narrow your pedicle. And we'll just put a couple of stitches in just to show. And I generally go along, I generally put my first stitch in here, just so that I've got the right